Oh, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it may be. Welcome to Mending Threads. This is your safe place and your stronghold for whole body wellness. We're a transformation series, and we want to look at some transforming ideas today and also look at ways to put them in practice in our homes, in our communities, and in our lives. We're going to talk today about healing spaces in the face of trauma. So we have with us today our co-host, Dr. Corey Wilson, and we'll have another guest planned to join us and to be on our second show today. So we look forward to your participation. So I wanted to ask, and we're going to get started with Dr. Wilson, just kind of saying a little something brief about his idea of trauma and some of his experiences with trauma.
Well, thank you, Dr. Lewis. This is, first of all, a great opportunity, as always, to just come on and share and have a platform to share some of the things that I do and have had to learn and use myself for my own mental health and everything about it. So with that, this is a very, very important topic because healing spaces is extremely vital and conducive for anything or even plant. I want us to keep that in mind. Even a plant, for it to be healthy to grow and strive, it needs to be in a healthy environment. When trauma happens, it's a disturbing aspect. It's kind of like a hurricane. That's the way we can look at trauma. And we just went through some bad winds.
Yes.
After it's gone, you look then at the wreckage. So what you do following the hurricane, the trauma, is very, very vital for the rest of your life. Okay? Not the rest of the day, not the rest of the week, the month, or the year. This trauma, this hurricane, can continue to have major wreckage for the rest of our lives. So how you deal with it is very, very vital.
So the National Institute of Mental Health published a report looking at the COVID and looking at special populations and how we respond, that we generally have more stress, low-income families having more stress, and persons going through changes. And one of the things that they're saying is that they were expecting and recognizing that we're having more suicide. We have an increase in suicide. We have an increase in hate crimes. We have an increase in anger and violence within the community. And so it was said that it was remarked here by a person, Diaz, and this would caught my attention, was saying that we are fast moving, just responding to it, but we really have no idea of what's happening to our whole system. That our brain is changing and how we perceive everything that we encounter, and that we feel isolated, not just because the pandemic, but because these fears make us feel that we are alone, and that aloneness is generating that separateness and more of an emotional isolation, and that's why we're beginning to see more suicide among even younger people, an increase. So I wanted to see what your thoughts are about that.
So what you're describing, Dr. Lewis, is what we would call a perfect storm.
Yes.
Okay, that's what you call a perfect storm. You got these elements that's going to happen. And since certain things are already happening within our lives, our meaning minorities, especially African Americans, then you got these added dynamics by nature sometimes. That's going to top everything that you already have. And then all of a sudden, what comes out of that is everything you just described. Major trauma. And then it goes to thoughts of I'm not needed, thoughts of I'm not important, thoughts of nobody cares about me, thoughts of nobody cares about nothing that I've done. Those are the type of thoughts that trauma, after it hits you, that's the kind of thoughts that trauma leaves. So if you don't do anything to combat the natural things that go with trauma. I want us to
Mhm.
understand trauma is a natural thing, meaning it's
Yes.
going to happen. It's like rain. You
Mhm.
cannot stop rain, whether you think it's
Mhm.
bad or good. Don't
Mhm.
put an adjective on it. It is what it is. It's about what you do, just like right now, the city of Houston from yesterday. What did they say? Prepare for what? Rain and large amounts of wind. You can't
Mhm.
stop it. But what can you do? Prepare for it. So when it comes, it
Mhm.
don't do the same damage that it would normally do. So in that is very vital because that is a
Mhm.
perfect storm, and it's sad that it leaves a wake of thoughts of suicide. Now let me
Mhm.
talk about where does that come from? Suicide, when you start thinking of that, you're thinking of suicide because in your mind, for what all that's going on, how you feel emotionally, how you feel in your confidence or competency levels, you don't think you can make it. You don't think you can get through whatever the storm is, whatever the trauma.
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
trauma starts dictating to you. And that's what you start adhering to. So the first way to combat it, I'm gonna say this one thing and give it back, is
Mhm.
to express what you're going through. Get
Mhm.
into who you should express it to second. But let's just start with one way to combat expression.
Mhm.
One of the things most African Americans don't participate in a lot is expression. We
Yes.
don't know how healthy it is just to express what we're dealing with.
So one of the things, speaking of expressions, let's start at one level. Okay, if you remember years ago, and now they're beginning to give value to it. Years ago, people used to hum. They would hum as an expression. They did not have words. So now we're finding out that humming is a release and a connection with yourself and your spiritual self to express that, to release the tension that as you interface the environment, as you interface the stress and the trauma. So that's one level of expression to create your personal healing space. So they were looking at how humming we just not giving credibility to it anymore. And so even, and I don't know if you remember this because I'm kind of like a little bit older.
It's okay, Dr. Lewis.
So you remember when they used to have church services and they did not say a word. They would just begin to hum, and people would say hum whatever you feel or whatever you're trying to say. And some people will have a higher level, a lower level, and now they know that the level in which you're expressing them tend to have a lot to how you feel about yourself. And so the pain that one feel is how they would express their hum. And then the persons that do biofeedback begin to say that the expression they now can digitize.
Mm.
As you hum, then you decrease the stress of that's measured in your fingertips. The perspiration, the respiration in the body. You see, and so now, so no one thought about it. No one believed it until they could come up with some numbers. But people could do a testimony that when they would hum, singing or whatever, that they felt the relief of the trauma. You see, so I mean, and I'm really beginning to make notes on this as I'm interviewing and talking with people further. Mm-hmm.
It's very vital because when the body is under trauma, when the brain is under trauma, your whole being, you got to have a release valve. And that's
Yes.
what's happening. We're going
Mm-hmm.
through all these things, but we don't have a release valve. And if we
Mm-hmm.
do, we don't use it. And if we do, our pride and how we might look to the outside public. And that's one of the things I want to really also add to this about us.
Mm-hmm.
We are way too concerned about
Mm-hmm.
how we look, our own optics for what we need. Well, I got to be honest. I remember going to school. It was about how you look, not how you are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. That's a typical thing in the world. But as African Americans and minorities that have been through so much, we cannot afford to put too much emphasis on how we look, our own optics. That's not what's killing us. How we look isn't what's killing us.
Yes.
What's killing us is how we are. And we're
Yes.
afraid to open up. We're afraid to have discussions. And I understand all the reasons why. I get it. But we
Yes.
have to fight. We got to push through. We got to do what's natural. And sometimes it don't take money. See, that's another thing we've been told in these later years. Everything costs money, we think. So I can't pay for this. I can't pay for a clinician. I can't do that. Look, you got to find a friend. Okay.
Yes.
Build
Yes.
a rapport with somebody. They don't have to be African American.
That's right.
They don't have to be a coworker.
It's
They
the
don't have
it's
to be
the
on
it's
your
the heart.
education.
It's that heart. I'm agreeing with you. It's the heart.
It's the heart. They don't have to be on your educational level.
Yes.
Sadly enough, sometimes we look to co-opt and partner with people in regards to friendships that we think need to be on our level. Let me be clear. When I was a child, the town drunk, I'll be on my way to school. The town drunk passes me by. He's reeking with alcohol. But I don't demean the town drunk in my eyes, because I was taught by parents, you respect your elders. I don't care what their conditions are.
Right.
So when the town drunk would pass me, he might want to have a conversation that day because ain't nobody talking to him.
Right.
But at the moment, I might be going through something in my home. Me and the town drunk is about to get into a good conversation. I got 10 minutes on my way to school. Me and the town drunk. But me expressing what I'm going through with the town drunk, he's just a town drunk. But it don't mean he don't have no knowledge about nothing.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, my expressing what I'm going through to him, it allows me, A, to release some of this, and B, he might have some good knowledge for me.
And generally do, you know, in terms of, because of the observation, because of the experiences and things that they've gone through, a wealth of information, I find.
Exactly. So me expressing myself, because the most important part of this is expression. So when I opened up, he gave me a few knowledge and a few tidbits of some things that has happened to him. Okay. And I used that, and I was able to bring my trauma, my stress down about 5 notches, but I didn't realize it. So when I got to school, I was focused again on my education, my scholastics. And by the time I got home, you know, my stress levels went from 10 to about 3. But if you don't do anything, you got to find someone you can trust.
Yes.
They, again, I stress that they don't have to be on your quote unquote level. I think we go wrong when we start looking for people on our level. It's a recipe for disaster, Dr. Lewis.
Right. And so so what you're saying is, like, sometimes we have fear because we're not looking inward. And that if we would look inward and avoid the distractions outside, the evaluation, you know, the first thing when you're talking to somebody, they start comparing themselves to someone else. And one of the things that I'm finding for myself, and as I read even more, is to create your own standard with your belief. Create what you believe, how you want to behave, how you want to be viewed, and then begin to show yourself that way, meeting the standard of your belief as opposed to meeting the standard of what somebody else is doing or saying.
Exactly.
You see,
in this life for us, talk about healing spaces. The number one thing we have to start to create, and it don't cost you anything to create a healthy space. That's the one misnomer I want to dispel. This doesn't cost you money. To take the time to create a healthy space. What can that look like? A good friend. Okay. But I would suggest starting, as you said, inward. That means the best healthy space you can create ever, anybody, is a relationship with the Almighty God through his powerful son, Jesus Christ. Why? That's personal. Before you can go public sometimes, you got to go personal. You got to go private. There's a scripture that says in the book of Matthew, it says when he was given the Sermon on the Mount, he says, go into your closet. You know what that says? Something private. And what? Pray to your Father who's in private. You don't always have to go public. because sometimes I know there's trust things, there's a lot of things that might happen. People might take your information that you're just opening
Mhm.
up and being transparent with. They're immature. They don't know what to do with it. They need to do this their own self. They're not healthy, whether it's a family member, co-worker, someone you look up to. None of that means people are healthy. So the first place you can go to, in the healthiest place in the
Mhm.
world, is within. And the way you go within, you have to go to the Lord Himself.
Mhm.
It's the
Mhm.
most important place because whatever you stress and tell Him, He won't tell to
Mhm.
nobody else. That's number one.
Mhm. Mhm.
B, if you've made a mistake, you don't have to have pride. He
Mhm.
understands. Come
Mhm.
to Him. Tell Him. Let Him know
Mhm.
I've made a mistake. I caused some of this, Father. See, you can't tell that to a lot of other people that's hoping you fall from your mistakes.
Mhm.
You can't let
Mhm.
them know. You can't be as transparent. But with Christ, you can be very,
Yes.
very transparent. And what
Yes.
is that doing? You're what? Expressing. Prayer is
Mhm.
expression. You're
Yes.
opening up, you're allowing a release valve, and you got the most trusted dynamic known to man, which is Jesus Christ.
And something you said. Now I'm gonna try to think. I don't know if it's Philippians something, but it talked about bridging with someone else. When
Mhm.
you talked about friends, it
Yes,
says to know that when you join with another person and find someone who can hear you, then you have joined and you will be able to remove fear. Okay, I don't know if it's in Romans and what in one Romans something, and I can't remember the exact script, but I remember reading that, and I was marveled because I was saying it's telling you exactly that you need to then link up with someone else and be able to discuss this and talk about this and work through it.
correct.
So to just move with trying to locate and reinforce your healing spaces.
Right. James, the book of James, chapter 5, it says, confess your faults one to another. And as it keeps going, it then tells you what to do with what someone has shared with you. It says
Hmm.
that the effectual, fervent prayers of a righteous man availeth much. So when you express yourself to someone else that's healthy, keep that in mind. Because let me discuss this as a branch of this, Dr. Lewis.
Hmm.
Sometimes we express, but who we choose to express,
Yes. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Intimate things with, they're not healthy, but we might not know that. Because see, here's another thing I've learned. Let me point this out. When you're not healthy, your radar for detecting other healthy people is bad.
Hmm.
Signal
Hmm.
to detect healthy people is not good. When you're not healthy, it's going to be
Yes.
hard for you to find somebody else that is healthy because you don't know what
Hmm.
healthiness actually looks
Looks
like.
like, and then sometimes the fear of the previous experience of
Right.
unhealthy people
That's right.
can get in the way. Both of those situations are
Correct.
real clear of destroying healing spaces.
That's right.
Mhm.
So being healthy is very vital for you to even be able to choose healthy
Mhm.
relationships,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
Healthy friendships.
Mhm. Mhm.
You can't be going to who you just love and who you feel should be the one to help you with this. Should and how things are is two completely different things.
Right.
Sadly enough, we take things to unhealthy people. And then when they show their unhealthiness on us as a result, we're hurt, we're disappointed. And then we start saying from the devil, well, I'm not going to have no more friendships. Well, that's not life, you all. I
Mhm.
understand. What we need to learn is how to
Mhm.
choose healthy friendships, no
Yeah.
matter if they're our race. And that's what I'm saying. It don't have
Mhm.
to be your race, my brothers and sisters. They don't have to have
It's
your
the person.
age, my brothers and
Mhm.
sisters. Healthy friendships can come in a lot of different packages. Okay. You cannot pick who you want to be your friend. Let me say that. I didn't pick the healthy people that God put in my arena. But when He
Mhm.
put them there, I had to elect to be
Yes.
open to that,
Yes.
even though I've been disappointed in the past with friends. Well, that was my fault because I didn't know that the friends I chose to be transparent with, I didn't know that they were unhealthy. I didn't see that until something played out. But
Yeah,
I did not let that make me stop
that's right.
looking for
That's
healthy
right.
friendships.
That's right. So really it is that you're building your trust and your through your experiences from inside out is the key thing that we need to begin to look at to create the healing spaces and also to elect and draw in the energies and friends that we experience. But there was something that you mentioned on one of the other shows. You were talking about then we need to bring that into this discussion, I think, to really, if we were helping, is to look at renewing the way that we see things itself. And I think you mentioned Romans something 12 or something. And so I make little notes on things that are really important for people, things that people comment on. And you
Right.
were saying, it says that you must then, once you create your standard, renew your mind for the purpose of achieving what, if you want to achieve transformation or change or look at things different, you have to begin to then look at ways of looking at things differently.
And here's the scripture, Romans 12:1. Paul said, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Hmm. And so, even in the things that we do emotionally, how we treat other people, how we handle things, we're actually spreading in the environment, in our immediate environment, healing or destruction. And if we
Exactly.
choose heal, see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. Just let's look at, since we're in COVID, you see how easy COVID can spread to another person, right?
Yes.
Just being in close proximity, right? All right.
Hmm.
Now, unhealthiness can spread even faster than COVID, just like healthiness. I don't think
Hmm.
we realize how an unhealthy environment dictates to us whether we're healthy or not. The longer we stay in an unhealthy environment, that environment is too strong for us to stay healthy if the environment is unhealthy. And
Yes.
one of the things we don't realize or put a lot of value in, once we start to migrate towards healthiness, I don't think we understand or give your healthiness enough credence to now you have to now fight and be sure, not that you are moving towards healthiness, but the environment, meaning friends and
Yes.
family members, who you talk to, who you post with, your
Hmm.
Instagram, your Facebook. You can no longer have friends on Facebook that's constantly living unhealthy lives, posting unhealthy stuff while
Yes.
you are trying to move
Hmm.
towards
Hmm.
healthiness and wonder why it's not working. Where you're continuing to take your new health to an unhealthy environment, but expect for what you're trying to do to hold, to last, and to still bring you out unscathed from an unhealthy environment. That's not the
Hmm.
way life works, my brothers and sisters.
Yes. That is so
Life,
true.
life don't work where you're healthy and you can go and survive in an unhealthy environment. You got to leave. Here's what the scripture says. Flee, come out from among them. What does light have to do with darkness? It's only saying when you're starting to get healthy, you got to now leave your unhealthy spaces, your
Yes.
unhealthy
Hmm.
relationships. I
Hmm.
don't care if it's your, I hate to say this, but you can be in an unhealthy marriage. And I'm not saying to go get a divorce, but you
Hmm.
got to start to say to yourself, this is unhealthy for me. So I
Hmm.
got to go to God and I got to ask God, what's the right
Right
move
thing. That's right.
exactly to help me to continue
Hmm.
me being healthy? Because me and this
Yes.
marriage, if both of us are unhealthy, I don't care what we think we have on paper, we have a whole lot of toxicity in
Right.
this
Hmm.
relationship. And it's not producing anything but a lot of bad trauma. And one of us might be thinking about killing ourselves or killing each other.
Yes. Yeah. And that was one of the things in terms of trauma that's escalating within our unhealthy community. One is because the wording out there is not wording to support healthy environments when you're frustrated. When you think of it, it tells you to do it now, or you have a right to be in front, or to don't let them see you sweat, or it's all of the wording. And if you listen to the commercials, don't wait. Everything is telling us to really the environment. I shouldn't say everything, should I say?
The
I should
majority.
say
I get it.
pronounce words in the environment and campaigns, and the way people are handling politically affairs and other things are saying that, or encouraging people to be more distrustful, and to encouraging people to respond in a different manner, in a harmful and unhealthy manner.
Yes, ma'am.
You
And
see? Hmm.
they're justifying it. What you're saying, not only are they promoting it, they're also
Hmm.
justifying the bad behaviors and actions of others upon others. And their
Hmm.
justification is because what's been done to them, and nobody have come to their aid to help them, which in their mind now, and I want us to understand something. That train of thought is not from above, meaning from God, from the Holy Spirit. That whole mindset is the devil feeding us things that's going to continue to hurt you and hurt other people that are also hurting. And that's what we're seeing, because we're not finding the right
Hmm.
outlet to
Hmm.
deal with all this trauma. I understand it's just compacted, and over time, hurt that hasn't been dealt with, it turns to what? Anger, then it turns to
Hmm.
rage. And by the
Hmm.
time you reach the point of rage from hurt, it could be your brother that hurt
Hmm.
you at 7.
Hmm.
You've been holding this for 15 years. And the moment you get an opportunity, you think, because the trauma speaks to you. And that's how the devil slips in. See, the devil don't want nothing good for you, and he don't want you to behave in any good way that's going to benefit somebody else. Everything about the
Hmm.
devil is to kill, steal, and destroy. I want us to keep that
Hmm.
in mind. So whenever those voices are speaking to you, whenever your trauma
Hmm.
is speaking to you, whenever your hurt is speaking to you, all this is the devil wants to come in and start having direct communication with you. But when you listen to him, he's going to always tell you what Dr. Lewis just said. Don't wait on nothing.
Hmm.
Hurry up and do this.
Hmm.
Hurry up and do that. Rush to judgment. Don't give people no opportunity. Don't get no more friends. Don't do nothing healthy because it ain't going to benefit you. Don't go to God because he ain't listening. Don't go to church because you've been hurt there. Don't do everything. That's all he does. And then all of a sudden, you in this mindset, but it's very unhealthy. So when he starts to say, take your life for
Hmm.
you, because you're already on that track in the way you think, it's going to be possibly easier versus harder.
Hmm.
So the reason we're coming to talk to you today is to
Hmm.
stop this and to give you a way out.
Hmm.
And our way out to fight. Look, let me say this too. You got to be willing to fight in this life.
Hmm.
Nothing in this life. If you want food, you get
Hmm.
a seed in a ground. Well, if you want food to be harvested, what you got to do? Go get a shovel,
Go ahead. That's right.
and you got to
Hmm.
get ready to go roll your sleeves up, right?
Yes.
And go to work to even get food. That's good. So if it takes work to get food, it's going to take
Hmm.
work for you to create a healthy space,
Hmm.
and you then to start receiving the benefits from a healthy space. It's no different than having seeds in
Hmm.
the ground. You got work to do for them two things to come together, and then in time for you to receive the benefits, which is called harvest. It's the same thing with relationships. It's the same thing with good, healthy environments. And Dr. Lewis, I'm going to say this too. Be careful about how much news you take in. Let me be clear,
Yes.
y'all. The news is beneficial in one way, but there's a lot of toxicity that comes
Right.
our way of the news, and we're glued to it every day and don't even realize it.
Like this morning, the news was saying, oh, all the bad things that were happening with the storm and whatever. I had this young person who really need assistance to complete some things. And so people, I wouldn't go out. I said, well, you know what? This has to be done. I must find a safe way to do this. Let me go out and check. So I went out and things were just fine. You understand? I mean, no water, nowhere. You just get on down. So, to be sensible, to plan, like you say.
Right.
So I made sure I had gas. My tires were done. I made
Okay.
sure I waited till the light,
That's right.
and travel real safely to get where you're going. So like you're saying, it is that you got to be careful about what you're listening to and how it affects your mind and what you do and your energy to move forward.
That's
You
right.
see, that's the very first thing. It says that there are three things, like you're talking about processing it, that we can't, all these things that we're trying to do to help people, to help ourselves, we can't process this anger until we really feel safe and secure. That we
Correct.
feel safe when we go to the doctors,
That's
that
right.
we have enough belief and a plan
Hmm.
to move forward. So we can buy all the food for people that we want. But if we're not creating safety and security in the minds and in the hearts of people, something they can hold on to, and an action plan that they can call upon and use to create their safe places, spaces in their minds
Correct.
and in their homes and environment, then
Correct.
what we're doing is we're creating dependency and failure.
Correct.
You
That's
see?
right.
So I loved your analogy about the planting of the food and everything.
Yes, ma'am. Because the strange thing today, Dr. Lewis, it's not said directly, but it's said indirectly. We're telling people you can get what you want, but you don't have to do no work.
Yes.
That's what we're saying, even in this a healthy space, even in a better way of thinking, a better way of looking at life. That we're making people think that it's microwavable. It's
Yes.
really not, y'all. It's gonna
Yes.
take, and that's what I'm seeing when you start to go after what people are saying you can get, and it don't happen the next day.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we're then feeling like nothing will ever change, nothing will ever happen, not understanding there's a
Mm-hmm.
process that's actually healthy. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm letting you know you must do the work to create all these things that are going to benefit you. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to come overnight. You start with coming to Christ. Then you pray and ask him to help you with this strength to create a healthy space. And stop thinking that, oh, when I went to church, well, somebody hurt me, so church ain't healthy. That's not the way
Right.
to look at it. Let me be clear about this. That's like me going to a hospital right now because I broke my finger. And when I get into the hospital, I see somebody with a broken leg. I see somebody having a heart attack. I see somebody having a stroke. And I say to myself with my broken finger, what am I doing here? I came to get my finger broke. Why are people in here with strokes? Why are people in here with heart attacks? Why are people in here getting help? Hello? It's a
Mm-hmm.
hospital. Are you kidding me? What?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we understand what church is supposed to represent. How do you go to church and say, I can't believe you suffering from a stroke? I'm suffering from a heart attack. Let me get out of here because I want to come to a place where nobody has nothing in the
Nothing
computer.
going on. That's right.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Church is a spiritual hospital.
That's
Okay?
right. That's exactly what I said. People, I say to people, they were like, I don't know why I'm not going to church. It's just too much gossip, too much this and this and this. I said, but don't you know that that's the place? And they were like, I have had some professionals ask me, and I know that they were going through that. Why do you continue to go to church? Why are you going to do? What are you saying? I have people that say that to me often, and I said, is that not the place to go to help someone who needs to be helped and to show them how
Right.
you struggle through
Right.
situations, how you handle it? Isn't that the place
Yes,
of
ma'am.
healing? Isn't
Amen.
that one of the places that people are suffering, but
Right.
they're going in search for healing?
There we
So
go.
that would be a place to
Exactly.
really, that's right.
That's
That's what I'm
right.
saying.
And then with that, you're going to realize what you do and learn at church, you got to carry it when you
To,
go home.
that's right. There you go.
Because one of the things I saw when I was in mental health in California as a child and adolescent clinician, the things we did with the child in treatment, it wasn't carried through where? At home. So all that work I was doing once a week for an hour, when the child went home, the parent wasn't following through with what the new treatment plans were. So the child continued to fall through the cracks no matter what the specialist was used or that clinician was used to assist the child with. It must be followed through in every
Yes.
other aspect of the child's life for whatever you're trying to convey and renew to actually live and create a new space, a new way of thinking, and a new way of feeling. Whatever you're getting has to now show up in all the other areas of your life.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what the point is. And if you do not, you can start on one end, but if you don't carry it out on another end, in every area, it will fall through. And it'll make you think it's not working, but it is.
So so here's what, as we come into a close for this portion, is that it seems that what we're saying is we have to ready ourselves inside, and we can do that in many ways by checking in with ourselves, by reading and praying and finding out what are we asking and what are we doing, cleansing our minds and renewing through the information they receive and practicing it, and to bring about safety with our families and our every time we open our mouth, we're saying and stating what our standards are and giving some good, healthy stuff that we're sending out to the community and
Exactly.
practicing it every day.
That's right. And let me say the beauty of that, Dr. Lewis, when you come to Jesus Christ, first thing first, it's free. Okay?
Okay.
It's free. Secondly, you don't need status to come to Jesus. You don't need a certain ethnicity to come to Jesus. You don't need a certain education or education level or skill
Mhm.
set to come to Christ. You don't have to just be a male or a female to come to Christ. It doesn't matter. Whoever you are, whatever you've been suffering from, you can come to Christ for free on your own time. And the Bible says, I knock on a man's door, the door of his heart. And if any man will open the door of his heart, Jesus said,
Mhm.
I will come in and sup with him. Meaning, start having relations and interactions. And let me be
Mhm.
clear, my health and the power of why I've gotten to where I am in the
Mhm.
inside is all because of what Jesus Christ, and I made a move towards him, and it helped me. It don't matter how high you are in life or how low you are. He'll take everybody.
Mhm.
Whenever you decide to come,
Mhm.
right there waiting, and you and him can start to build a healthy rapport. And he's
Mhm.
gonna help you with learning how to look at your space to see who's in it and who's healthy and who's.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much. I think we're moving on, and I surely invite you to be on our next show, which is going to be looking at moral injury and creating healthy spaces. And we're going to bring on shortly. But I want to thank the audience for being with us today. I want to thank you for being here this morning, although we're taping it this morning. It'll be in the evening when people see it. I apologize. I'm in a different place and I'm not visually clear in this place. But anyway, I hope the message is carried. And I hope that it's going to impact your lives and make those changes. Remember this: we have the power to make the change. We've been given that. So all we have to do now is to take the step. Remember, renew beliefs, rebuild faith, and reconnect families and communities. For it is not the circumstances we meet, it is the manner in which we respond that determines health, happiness, and success. Please go to our website, wrc-houston.com. Please sign up for the mental health coaching class. If you're in a faith health group or a pastor or a church group, please sign up and help make the difference. Help us create healing spaces in our community through your endeavors and through our programming. And I'm going to look forward to seeing you same place, same station next week. Thank you now.